Well, I was telling somebody, I met Charlie, Barbara and I met Charlie at the top of Broad Street one Sunday morning. and he was singing, and so I just wanted him to sing this one song, and because it's thoughtful about what we're doing.
Kayaking on a Caribbean sea. My sweetheart. It's all right. You know what? I don't think I need that because everybody's actually listening.
Wait, so we're doing a recording.
Oh,
So why don't you start over?
okay. Well, in that case, should have worn a better shirt. Kayaking on a calm Caribbean sea. My sweetheart and me. Water so clear, coral we see. Kayaking on a calm Caribbean sea. Something near the shore catches my eye. It's a plastic bottle floating by. There's a message in the bottle for my sweetheart and me. It's a message for all to see. Says my owner don't care about the environment. He just tossed me once my contents are spent. Don't care about the land, don't care about the sea, don't care about my sweetheart or me. I get the same message on the sea, on the land, from the people, from their children. I seem to see that message everywhere. Yeah, it's a message from the people who don't care. My owner don't care about the environment. He just tossed me once my contents are spent. Don't care about the land, don't care about the sea, don't care about my sweetheart or me. Kayaking on a calm Caribbean sea. My sweetheart and me. Water so clear, coral we see, and a message in a bottle. Unfortunately, here's where we kayak around the corner and you can't hear us anymore.
Great. Thank you, Charlie.
You're welcome.
Well, you've all heard a lot, I'm sure, about the ocean pollution and the animals and all of that, about the problem. And a lot of what we're doing tonight is not as much about the problem as it is about the solution. But we're going to look a little bit at the problem. So Don Ravines, I want you to know, is not only Mr. Tech Guru, but he's the leader of the Nevada County Climate Action Now group, of which we are part. So, Plastic Free July, that's what we are, and we have a few other waste now Barbara's over there taking pictures of us, and Kirsten is here, and Karen is here, and who else? Anyway, so here we are. We can move to the next slide. And first thing I want to do is to introduce our speakers.
You heard about a giant
Oops.
You wanted to show the video.
Yeah, in just a minute, I'm going to introduce the speaker.
Next slide.
Oh, sorry about that. Anyway, Shivati Karki Pearl is Waste Management, Public Sector Management Manager, and I'm glad that she's here. I've been trying to get her title right for a long time here, okay?
All right.
Good, and Daniel, I just met from Circle. He's a Community and Engagement Director. Sounds very official. He's going to tell us a lot about what happens at the river. You won't believe how much stuff they take out of the river every year. And Jared is the owner of the Gaia soap refill store, because we're talking a lot about refill. And then the two ladies down here, and just the ladies from the Rotary Club, and they are, you're going to hear more about their project. Some of you already seen their boxes around, but we're going to tell you what that means. And so just wanted to do that. And now let's do this quick interview, quick rundown on what's going on in the world with why is the problem with plastic. Some of it we need, but single-use plastic is the problem. That's the focus is on that. Okay, Don.
trash islands in the ocean. Or that poor sea.
Is it coming up on the screen? No. Yeah. This is a little short animated done by Story of Stuff. Have you heard about Story of Stuff? They do a lot of different story things, and this one happens to be a story of plastic. And it's a short animated one. And we will be having on July 13th, you can pick up a little handout as you go out, we're going to be having a virtual screening of the whole documentary. And it's award-winning documentary on the story of plastic, the story. And
Heard about the giant
I'll wait until they get it. But, one of the things about the story of plastic that really got to me was, the industry, started, the 60s, and, everybody thought it was like the best thing since sliced bread. I mean, I'm sure a lot of us went to Tupperware parties, and it was like, and, but then, people didn't want to use it. They thought it didn't do what it was supposed to do, like it always did before. You just put it in the ground and it goes away. Doesn't do that. The industry created the symbol, the recycling symbol, to make the public think they were going to recycle it. But that didn't really happen. So we can just skip that one, guys. Let's go on to the next, okay? Just forget that one. We'll just keep going. So I just want to show you a couple of things about the plastic thing, because it's whatever I've looked at this now for, maybe 3 years or something, and different things, come up about, how much, and when you really add it up, it doesn't look like much. I mean, well, you can see, what it adds up when we're talking about bubble wrap and shrink wrap, That's probably only one store, Robin? Is that probably one?
This is one bag of about 3 that get picked up several times a week.
Yeah, she's going to tell us more about that later, but anyway, I don't know, what is this? Where did she come from?
That's Jessica when she was 3 years old.
She's happy. She's recycling.
Well, she's welcome. She's awfully cute. Anyway, what do you... So anyway, the problem is the amount of it. And the Plastic-Free July program started in Australia, actually, I don't know, maybe 5 years ago, maybe more, I don't know. Do you remember? And it's been starting to go around the world. And last year, I came across it at Briar Patch, because they did a Plastic-Free July, which I had not had heard of at that point. And if we can get to that slide, we'll show you the what they did and what they've collected and how much they've changed. And now, in the second year, they're starting another one, I think, next week. Well, okay, here's the fundamental plastic problem. You can see how much, is happening here. 17% of the world's energy. When you think about all of the climatic factors that go into extracting it into fossil fuels and making it into something. The climate, the pollution of, have you ever heard of Louisiana Alley? It's a place where there's a lot of these factories that make plastic, and a lot of people are getting sick and dying and have cancer and stuff. I mean, it's called Cancer Alley because it's so known and bad. Anyway, there's a whole lot of stuff. We can go on to the next one. You know, the whole thing about methane. I'm sure you've heard about methane being a big greenhouse gas problem. And that comes from the landfill. But Shivati's going to straighten us out on a lot of this stuff. And the microplastics, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on the fine print here, but just to say that there's a lot of research going on now. I listened to a program last night in Denmark and Netherlands especially about microplastics are getting into everything, into our water supply, into our soil, into our bodies, into affecting endocrine systems. They're finding a lot of correlation that it's affecting fertility for young people. So microplastics you're going to hear more and more about because it's a big problem. We can go on from here. This one, I put this up wherever it went to. I guess I put it out there. When you go out, you can look at it. But I think this is pretty easy, interesting to look at. You can look at the fine print up there about the problem. Microplastics. We eat, drink, and breathe microplastics in our clothes. You know, this happens to be cotton, but if it was polyester, it would slough off microplastics into the water. And then that water goes into our water supply. Anyway, you know, it's like not to make you fearful. It's just to say, this is something we need to pay attention to. And if we can all get together, and that's what Plastic Free July is about, is bringing focusing awareness onto this. And let's start new habits and new solutions. And that's what we're talking about. Okay, let's go on. And, this is what I just said, textiles and fashion. My career was in retailing. I can tell you that I'm pretty chagrined at how much I contributed, you know, to that. But you know, we learn, and now we do it differently. So just be aware. And one of the fun things that's happening, young people here know this. You know, the young people are not wanting to buy new clothes, right? They're buying they're buying used clothes. Like Patagonia started worn wear. And there's a lot of sites now online that are, you only wear it a few times. It's nothing wrong with it, but I don't want to wear it anymore. You send it to one of these places and they clean it, resell it. It's a really remarkable thing that's happening in retailing for me, you know. And like I say, Patagonia worn wear. It's great. Okay, let's go on to the next one and see. Oh, this is the plastic free from Briar Patch. I want you to see what they're doing. The bulk department is going all plastic free. No plastic bags anymore. Reusables, yay, Briar Patch. Yeah, I invited them, but they weren't able to come, so she sent me this. And she said, refill is the name of the game. Well, that's why he's clapping over there, because Gaia is all about refill. And that's where, you know, we had laws that wouldn't let you bring your box back, you know, wouldn't let you to the deli and stuff, you know, so they figured that out, and now they're doing it. So, well, this is other stuff. Their commitment is year-round. Let's go to the next one. That's where we're going to see. They reduce, this is, what was that? Go back to the last one. How much they reduced their own usage. 40%. Yeah. I mean, that's pretty remarkable. Yeah. And you know, because I'm a retailer, what I know is that it takes quite a long time and a lot of process to move it back to the producers to say, I'm not going to buy your product to sell in our stores anymore if you don't change. Now, they've spent a year working on that, and that takes a lot of clout. Now, they belong to the big co-op, and the big co-op can do that. So just know that it's a process, and I think they have made remarkable, yeah, we can go on to the next one. They've made remarkable progress, and this is what they're doing now. Refuse plastic bags. Bring your own containers. They'll be offering reusables, refuse plastic straws and utensils. You know, this is really a big thing. I mean, I don't go to takeout places very often, but when I do, then they just don't even ask me. They just throw all this stuff in the bag, right? You know, these little packets of things, and you know, the straws and other stuff. I don't want utensils. I don't need any of that. So I'm working with the Chamber of Commerce now in Nevada City, and hopefully soon in Grass Valley, to talk to the merchants and ask them to put up a little sign, to ask the customers to ask first, and not just get it in their bags. You know, don't just throw it in there. So you know, it's a thing. It's a thing. So, but look at it just before we even order. Say, I don't want that stuff. Thank you. Refuse plastic water bottles. Bring your own. One of the things we're working on, if we can get a hold of them, Shawty and I have been trying to get to the fairgrounds people, because we want them to put in water fillers. Have you seen these water filler stations? We should have water filler stations everywhere. That way people can bring their own and fill it up. So, okay. All right, let's go on. Refuse plastic cups, that's a natural. Okay. Let's go to the next one and see what we got. Oh, this is fun. And then I'm not going to talk for much longer, but this is fun. There's a group called Beyond Plastics. And I think this is the best action-oriented group I've come across. Beyond Plastics. They're out of Bennington, and the gal who started it is a professor at Bennington. She was also part of the EPA for 9 years, and she is like going for it. And to all these great advocacy things. This is one that we'll be doing, and I encourage you to do this in your own neighborhood, in your own circle of friends. It's called Take Back Packaging. Pick a store. Pick any store, and then all your friends, everybody, whatever you buy. And then buy stuff as though you were a customer. I mean, I don't buy that, but if I was just a regular customer, I would buy that stuff. And then I would collect all that plastic in a bag. Hopefully it won't look that big, but, you know, we're going to collect it all in a bag. Here's my Safeway bag, here's my whatever, but try to do just one store. And then on July 23, all you and your friends take that bag back to that store, and you ask to see the manager. And you say, excuse me, but I think you should know that this is only one person for 1 month, or not even 1 month, and this is how much I got of plastic, and do you know how much you're contributing, blah, blah, blah. So if you put your name on the email list, you'll be hearing from me about how we can actually do this. I think it's pretty clever, you know, to say, stop, no, look, are you really getting it about how much this stuff is? I think we have another slide that's kind of funny, don't we? Oh, yeah, that's what this guy did. This guy collected this. He said, play like I was a regular customer, you know, and I just bought all this stuff in plastic. And then this is a month worth, and he just put it all on his body. He just made a you know, little outfit out of all this plastic. I think that's funny. Let's go on. And then a couple other things. You can pick up the handouts on your way out so you can remember this. But there's a plastics-free party that's using an app, which is called the Climate Action Now app, named after us, right, Don? Yeah. Anyway, very clever. If you want to know something, it's something that it's an app on your phone that you can make actions to take a variety of actions, you know, on anything, energy, plastic, whatever, in about 30 seconds. And so we're doing a plastic-free party to teach people how to use that app, because you can do it like that. Fabulous. And then on Wednesday, July 13th, Nevada Clothing is doing a virtual story of plastic screening of the documentary. Okay, let's go on. I think that's all from me. Shivani.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Hello, can everybody hear me all the way to the back? Awesome. So I'm Shabati. I'm with Waste Management, and I'm their public sector manager. I am here filling in for my colleague, Rachel Blake, the name you'll see on the slides there. So I'm going to go blind into the slides and hope I can do well. She couldn't make it today. So Shirley invited us here to talk a little about recycling and talking about clarifying some of the, we call it myths about recycling. And Rachel has been out in the community a lot this year, finally, after some of the COVID restrictions came down, and we get faced with a lot of questions from the community. So we put together some questions that we can answer, and also I will try to focus a little bit on plastics, because we're here for Plastic Free July. So the intentions today, hold your questions till the end. I'll be happy to answer them to the best of my ability. We're gonna talk, I'm sorry, I'm looking there and here because it's easier to look there. Introductions, it's just me here today, so I'm Shabati. Intentions are to talk about market updates, materials accepted in WM recycle streams, some of the myths, some of the solutions, and then we'll go over your questions, curiosities, and resources. Okay, plastic update as of May 2022. So the domestic plastic recycling industry has adapted and strengthened as a result of the global market reset. It's a very wordy slide, but I will give you a gist of it.
Can you face this way when you're talking, so it's hard to hear you?
Okay, I will look there and talk then. That might be easier. It's easier for me too. So as far as the plastic market goes, a lot of people know that in 2018, there was the China Sword policy where they stopped taking plastic from countries in the West because they were accepting everything. And countries like us were saying, recycle, like everybody, all your stuff is going to get recycled because we're going to send it to China and forget about it. So they said, well, we're taking a lot of things, and they were using a minuscule amount that was actually being produced into products. And they upped the contamination from, I don't know how much percent it was originally, to like 0.5%. When that happened, the recycling market came to a standstill, and a lot of places, again, we're going to talk about America because we're here, didn't know what to do with the plastics. They had nowhere to send it. So at that point, Waste Management, which just for information is now known as just as WM.
Say it again.
WM.
WM.
Yeah. So they rebranded because the focus is more on sustainability and not waste, because we don't want people to produce more waste. We'll manage the way. Yeah. So we want to focus on sustainability part of it. So they made a policy not to send any plastics to any international markets and find ethical and reliable markets within America. So all of our residential plastic that gets picked up gets recycled in the United States. The market in 2021, last year, picked up a lot. So there was a downswing. COVID brought it even, worse. There were places in the country where they completely stopped recycling. So California has been great. Nevada County's been great. A lot of the independent recyclers closed down, but WM has continued to pick up recycling and also investing in recycling because we really believe in it. And we, again, want to be the leaders in recycling efforts. So 2021, the market picked up, especially now. It came to a kind of a platform, but we still have hope for it. Of course, you heard somewhere in Shirley's slides that plastic numbers 1 and 2 are the ones that actually have a market. We're seeing a bigger market now for number 5s, which are like your yogurt containers and stuff, because of the crude oil prices going up, there's a higher demand for that. But there's an issue with that. I will talk about that. So that being said, we've made a lot of meaningful investments in technology, and we're wanting to ensure that high-quality recyclables get back into the market. There's a lot of emphasis you'll see on technology, because when your items go to our sorting facilities, they are a combination of labor and equipment. And as you may or may not know, everything gets dumped on these rollers, and they get moved through the process where there's individuals pulling out stuff that shouldn't be there, which we call contaminants. Because it's so labor heavy, it's hard to process all those number 5s that there is a market for now. So 1s and 2s are going through. The 5s are getting hard to sort out because it's very labor intensive, and that's why we're trying to invest a lot in technologies just to be able to start pulling out now the other plastics. So are we able to grab and sort out all those plastics and recycle it? Not yet. 1s and 2s, yes. The 4s, technology will help us down the line. So we're committed to increasing that. We'll go on to the next slide because I could go on and on about that. Okay, so quick game. Raise your hand, share one material that's accepted in the WM recycling cart. What is that, plastic?
Milk jug.
Okay.
Newspaper.
Yes. Containers. So rigid plastics, yes. Can they have, can it be half filled with shampoo?
Must be clean.
Okay. So rinse it out and check out the contents and put it in.
Take the lid off.
Take the lid off, thank you. What else? So we got plastic, we got cardboard, paper, glass,
Metal.
cans, yes. So those are the 5 things.
Are you still taking shredded paper?
Unfortunately, no. No. Again, because it goes through the rollers, they mostly just fall out. So no.
Last time WM came, he said to put it in a paper bag and just stay there.
At some point, maybe, and I've heard somebody else say that too, so I asked the manager at the sorting facility. He said, unfortunately, we don't have the capability of having individuals go check what's in the bag, so if a bag comes through, it gets tossed out, because they don't know what's in it. So.
What is that you're talking about? I missed it.
Shredded paper. Shredded paper.
So if we take all of our paper to be shredded like to House of Print,
Yes,
that doesn't get recycled.
that does get recycled. So organizations like House of Print a Copy, the UPS store, etc., they have a special company that'll come and pick that shredded paper and then get it recycled. So just like your plastic bags, you cannot put that in your recycle, or can you? Okay, just checking. So plastic bags, film like that, bubble wrap cannot get into, again, because it's a tangling hazard. They're called tanglers. But if you take it back to the store, like Shirley was talking about,
Rotary's doing.
so the Rotary's collecting a lot of film plastic, and they'll be talking more about it shortly. But also all of our grocery stores now are collecting plastic bags back. So you can take it back to them, and they will take it back to the manufacturer, and it'll get recycled. So there are channels to recycle stuff, just not through us.
Shivati, just make a note that you can pick up one of these on your way out on that countertop that's there. This tells you where you can take them back to all
We
like
forgot to
plastic
put
recovery.
Briar Patch on there.
Okay, next slide. Okay, so you got it all right. So plastic bottles, food and beverage cans, paper, flattened cardboard, glass bottles, and containers, and they all need to be clean and not dry, and dry, sorry. Okay. Okay.
And the reason behind dried, what's the reason behind why?
So if there's a lot of liquid, and when it gets on other material, especially paper, that gets soggy and it's not easily like bailable or usable, then it's called contamination. And if our contamination levels are 5%, so if we have material beyond 5% in a load, whether the contamination is food or liquids or mixed material, so if you threw in paper but it's bonded with metal or plastic, that's all contamination. If that percentage goes above 5%, the processors don't accept it and they will reject the whole load. So you got to keep it down. Okay, we're going to talk about myths, and these are, I'm excited to present them because these are questions we get asked in the community all the time. So the first one, plastics that placed in the recycling cart are not being recycled. You guys throw it away anyway. It goes to the landfill. No, it doesn't. It actually goes to Sacramento Recycling and Transfer Station. If you go to the WM website, there are a lot of videos that show you how the sorting works at the transfer station and recycling facility. They're processed there, they're packaged. I wouldn't say processed, we don't process it. It's processed as in they're, packaged and shipped. market update, I mentioned that already. None of the plastic materials from residential collections are exported out of North America. So not every item you place in your cart can be recycled, and in fact, some plastics could prevent, oh, sorry, I'm talking about the fact. Okay, so the myth, it doesn't matter what I place in the recycling cart, it all gets sorted anyway. So that's not true, and I wish it were that easy, because not every item can be recycled. And some items, like we talked earlier, could prevent your whole load from being recycled because it may be contaminated, it may be mixed materials, and it could also be items that cause hazards. So for example, if you throw in a long film of plastic and it gets caught in the rollers, that could shut down the operation for half a day. And it completely erodes the efficiency of what we do. Okay, next. Okay, when in doubt, throw it out. So that's a very common thing that used to be used, I believe. It's like if you're not sure whether it gets recycled or not, just throw it in the trash can. So technically, yes, you don't want to contaminate what's in the recyclables and keep it pure and clean, but there are some items that you shouldn't throw in the trash either. So what may those items be? Yeah. So these items are called household hazardous waste. And as you can see, and a lot of you already know, paints, pesticides, propane tanks, toys. Again, somebody had a question. I went to the store and I bought this little device that helped me punch a hole in the propane tank, and now I can throw it in the thing is, when it goes there, we don't know if it's got a hole punched in it or not. So it's better to be, and then it's treated as something that's possibly dangerous for the employees. And so then they have to take special precautions with that propane tank that's there. So best to take it to the to McCourtney Road Transfer Station, where they have a household hazardous waste section. And also, a lot of people throw their plastic toys or remotes or things like that that has batteries inside, and it's caused truck fires. Multiple times a year, we get called because the truck, when he puts the load in, he then compacts it with a compactor, and that causes things to, especially in the heat like now, can cause friction and can cause a fire. So very often he or she has had to pull over, dump the whole load of garbage in whoever's neighborhood they're in, and call the fire, people. So it happens a lot. Okay. WM is making it harder by having 3 carts instead of just 1, like some communities. Okay, so this is a big one. Our neighboring community, Placer County, has a 1-cart system, which makes it really easy. They call it the gray container. You put everything in it, they take it away, and you don't have to worry about anything. So a lot of people like that idea. Why do we not like that idea? Because again, when you take that material, it goes to what's called a dirty MRF, which is material recovery facility. A dirty MRF will then, they do a good job. They sort out everything, the trash, the recycling, the organics, and they process it accordingly. Our material goes to a clean MRF, so our trash goes to the landfill, our green waste goes to a green waste processor who creates landscaping materials, and our plastics and other recyclables goes to the recycling or a recovery facility. So the amount of material recovered from a clean recovery facility can be as high as 90% or even 97%. And the material going through a dirty MRF, the recovery of recycled products from there will be probably 60% and up. If they're really good, it will be higher. So that's the difference right there. Okay. SB 344, okay. That's one law. There are a few other laws. So California, as you know, is a leader in environmental laws. People love to hate it or hate to love it. This law, it has national and state climate goals are increasing, they're increasing the pressure to reduce greenhouse gas emissions. And recycling plays an important role in achieving this. So CalRecycle is creating a list of commonly recovered materials at recycling facilities in the state. A product can only be labeled recyclable if it's collected in the curbside. Sorry, I'm reading this. Okay, so what it is, as Shirley mentioned, there was a time when the manufacturer said, guess what? I'm going to put a stamp, the Mobius symbol, the three chasing arrows. And that means, dear consumer, this is recyclable. So use away, buy away, you know. The fact is, a lot of that is not recyclable. As you know, when you see those symbols and you throw it into our carts, we aren't going to recycle it. We're only going to recycle 1, 2, maybe 5, and those that are. Now, can you throw it in there still? Yeah. Will we process it when we can and when we have the technology? Yes. Are they actually recyclable? Maybe. So, for example, going back to the plastic bags, they are recyclable, but not at your curbside cart. They're recyclable at the store. So this law tells the manufacturers that they can only put that sign on items that are recyclable in consumer products in your cart that's picked up at the curbside. And they cannot put that symbol on just arbitrarily everything. Especially the other if you're into the numbers, the plastics, 3, 4, and the others. So this is a really good law. They've given companies till July 2025 to make a plan to change the packaging. There have been other laws. 2 years ago, I don't know the number of the title of the law, but it required all manufacturers to also have up to at least 50% recyclable materials in their packaging. So that's a good one, too.
You mentioned truth in labeling. The truth in labeling law is just...
That's the one. That's the truth. Truth in labeling. So your labeling, they require the labeling to be absolutely correct. The other one was they need to have at least 50% recyclable materials. There's another one that's come out lately. We're not directly involved with it, so I don't know much about it, but I believe cities and other jurisdictions require restaurants or food outlets to provide recyclable items. It has to do with the single-use plastic, so there's something, yeah.
We'll talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, so. All right, I'm trying to think if there's anything else I have to share. Just that, WM is committed to recycling. During COVID, when everybody was shutting down recycling, we invested millions of dollars in actually creating facilities and using technology to have recycling plants because we were really committed to doing it and are going to continue. And same thing, like I mentioned earlier, right now we're not happy with the recovery of the number 5s, which we could be recovering. So they're going to invest more in technology to be able to recover more and more percentages out of the thing. So if you have any questions, I'm here.
I have a question.
Shirley, do you want to call on people?
Murray.
Okay, who went?
Murray here.
So when we have,
Do we have a mic for a moment down here?
I think we can hear it, let's see.
Yeah.
I'll just speak up. So when the bins get picked up, the recycling bins, they all get dumped into the truck together. So if one person puts a bunch of trash in their bin or non-recyclable things or dirty
Yeah.
plastic, does it ruin the entire truck?
It does. It does. So the loads are all then taken to Recycle Works, and then they're taken to Sacramento Recovery Facility. So it depends on which load that is being looked at. At the end of the day, if many people put contaminants, it adds up. And the final processing, that is the sorting that is done, that's where it impacts the percentages. So yes. Sure.
I'd like to kind of contain this a little bit because otherwise we aren't going to get out of here think we can only take 3 questions. Pop up if it's something you haven't heard, and it's about plastic. I'd like this to be mostly about plastics.
Number 7.
I have one in the
plastic.
back from Charlie, I have one from Don, I
Okay.
have one more that somebody could ask. Right there, okay? We got those 3. and then we'll move on.
Where's all the stuff that doesn't get recycled?
So we-
Go.
It does go to the landfill. Oh, the landfill where our items go to is in Lockwood in Nevada.
Number 7, plastic, a lot of birdseed, large plastic bags. And there's a website and a reference to what you can do with that. Can you advise us about that? Number 7.
So it won't be through us.
No.
No, but I can look up some resources for you. I don't have them right now. I mean, I know plastic bags will be taken back by the stores.
Yeah, but this is different.
Yeah,
Different kind of.
yeah. I don't have that information. There's one more. Okay, and I can stay back and answer your questions too, yeah.
Yeah. Great. Well, thank you. Thank you, Shivani. That's good.
I just,
Yeah, go ahead.
I just want to mention one thing. So we've collaboratively started a group on Facebook called
yeah.
Waste Not Nevada County. So if you join that group, and if you ever have a question
Good.
for just the public or specifically to waste management, I look at it often and I answer questions there. And if I don't have the answer, it gives me time to find out the answer and get it for you.
Yeah, and she's really good about that. She loves the Facebook page.
Thank
Really
you.
appreciate it. I just want to say that I think that what I'm certainly learning, and I hope you're starting to learn, is that recycling business is a very complicated business. and all these laws that have been happening, it's like they're throwing laws at them from Cal Recycle, faster than than they can move, because we as a well, really global, right? I mean, it's the global trash problem is enormous. And so I'm really appreciating your patience with, they're trying to work it out, and that's why we have meetings like this, so we can help you know that, we're trying to work it out, and this is happening, and you have, a lot of the responsibility here. You as the customer, you as the person that, decides what to buy in the first place and what to put in the bag in the second place. Let's do Rotary next, because that's one thing we can do about. Huh? Sierra Club.
Circle.
Circle.
Oh, Circle. You. Okay, Daniel.
I apologize, I had to write it down because I'm not real keen on off the cuff. Good evening, my name is Daniel Elkin. I'm the Communications and Engagement Director at South Yuba River Citizens League, known around here as Circle. I've been asked here to speak tonight specifically about plastic in the watershed. Next slide, please. So I can't really see it too well, but yeah, there's a problem. During the typical summer months, the Yuba River sees about 800,000 visitors who come to swim and lounge and recreate. The recent COVID lockdown we all went through has only brought even more visitors to the watershed. Just this past weekend, actually, we saw 1,300 visitors at just Bridgeport and 49 crossings. Yeah. And these visitors bring their stuff with them, right? And more often than that, more often than we would like, some of them leave their stuff behind when they leave. So to counteract this issue, Circle, in conjunction with state parks and the county, have been running its River Ambassadors program, reminding visitors to pack it out and recycle at Highway 49, Bridgeport, and Purdon, but that program can only do so much. So for the past 25 years, as part of a larger cleanup effort known as California Coastal Cleanup Day, which started in 1985, Circle hosts the annual Yuba River cleanup from September 10th through the 17th. So from Saturday to Saturday, volunteers help remove trash from the trails and the beaches by choosing either a self-guided cleanup or joining us on September 17th for the official community wide Yuba River. Oh, yeah. Actually, if you could go back 2 slides.
One thing I just found out that you may not know, is look at the cigarette butts.
Yeah, I was going to get there.
Now, they're all microplastic.
Yeah, we'll get to that too.
Oh, good. Go for it.
Yeah. So, in the last 2 years, the cleanup event has been a little weird thanks to COVID restrictions, but we still have a dedicated group of volunteers show up and pick up. So here are the stats from last year's. We had 422 volunteers come out. They pulled out 489 bags of trash and recycling, weighing 12,609 pounds. You'll see that the micro trash, the foam pieces, the glass pieces, and the plastic pieces, those numbers are really high. We, of course, also pulled out a couple of mattresses, a selfie stick, barf soap, a meal of oysters, which was my favorite, igloo coolers, pillows with eggs inside, all kinds of strange stuff is out there that people are leaving behind. Okay, next slide, please. So since we began the cleanup 25 years ago, we've removed over 130 tons of garbage. I don't know, I mean, that's great, really, thank you for applauding, but that's super sad too, isn't it? So, but that's the reality that we have. Next slide, please. So I'd hope you consider volunteering this year for our cleanup. We have some sign-up sheets at the table outside there, and you can always check our website for more information. Next slide, please. So that's how Circle has been dealing with the profusion of plastic in our watershed for the past quarter century. But a new area of concern is microplastics. As of now, there have been no large-scale projects to measure microplastics in the Yuba. We have a robust river monitoring program that's been collecting data for over 20 years, but microplastics was never something that we thought we needed to worry about. Because rivers are in near constant motion, researchers previously assumed lightweight microplastics quickly flowed through the rivers, rarely interacting with riverbed sediments. Next one. So new research, though, has begun to see that microplastics can deposit and linger within riverbeds for as long as 7 years before washing into the ocean. Researchers led by Northwestern University and the University of Birmingham in England have found that, this is a word I always have trouble with, hypereic exchange, which is the process in which surface water mixes with the water in the riverbed, can trap lightweight microplastics that otherwise might be expected to float. So sort of in this area here. This study marks the first assessment of microplastic accumulation within freshwater systems from sources of plastic population throughout the entire water system. The new model describes dynamic processes that influence particles and focuses on hard to measure but abundant microplastics at 100 micrometers in size and smaller. Using the new model, the researchers found microplastic pollution resides the longest the source of a river or stream, known as headwaters. In headwaters, microplastic particles moved at an average rate of, takes 5 hours to move a kilometer. But
5 hours?
to move a kilometer, yeah. But during low flow conditions, the movement slows to a creep. So later in the summer when our water is much lower, it takes 7 years to move just 1 kilometer. So this is what this study has shown. So in these areas, organisms are more likely to ingest microplastics in the water, potentially degrading the ecosystem's health. So we're a member of the California Coastkeeper Alliance, which is part of the International Waterkeepers Alliance. And we've begun to discuss how we can begin monitoring for microplastics in the Yuba. We're pretty sure that they're there. We just don't have the data to support our hunch yet. So as we move forward with this testing, we're going to make sure that we put out that information to the public as much as we can. We're also started testing for forever chemicals too. So both at the headwaters and down at the confluence. Next slide, please. All right, so still the best way to keep microplastics from contaminating our beautiful river is to make sure they don't get there in the first place. So again, hope you can come out to be a part of our cleanup in September from 10th to the 17th. Next slide. And you can find out all that information there at our website, river.org.
Don't take it to the river in the first
Yeah,
place.
but you can't take glass either, because glass is not allowed in the river basin.
Well, we have metal bottles.
Metal bottles, that's the key, absolutely. But if you do bring plastic, bring it out with you. That's the key. And when you see people who are leaving things behind, just ask them nicely. Don't get confrontational. That's how we do it as river ambassadors. We try and be as positive as possible to get our messages across. Okay? Yeah.
I spoke to one of the person in Truckee. They don't really take the things out of the water and clean it up very well. So I wonder, just putting it on rivers really isn't going to go from water.
Yeah.
So I just throw that out there.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's a big problem, right?
100% compliant.
Yeah.
Still have that stuff.
But as overwhelming as it is, if each person just did one little piece, then we tackle big problems that way. Right. Right now, we're just concerned with trying to see what the extent of the problem is right now. There have been some organizations that are hopefully going to be donating us some testing equipment so that we can begin to do that work.
And what about the larger plastics? Are there any initiatives that you guys are researching to, like, technologies to help catch the plastic to remove it from the
No, we're not. We're just down there, just every weekend we're down there picking up trash is really what we're doing, unfortunately. Yeah. No more questions?
Yeah,
Thank you.
thank you. Yeah, it's astonishing how it adds up, right?
Yeah.
And we just don't buy it in the first place, we don't use it in the second place. Anyway, we're running a little bit, behind. And so if people have things you need to do and you need to leave, please, I'm sorry, but we're gonna go to the Rotary next, and then we're gonna go to Jared on refill and wind her up.
I'm just gonna move this over here.
This is a wonderful program.
I'll move this out of here.
Lattice metal.
My name is Nancy Kemp, and this is Robin Milam. Can you hear me okay? We are from the Rotary Club of Nevada City, and Rotary as an organization has started looking more at environmental sustainability and has made it one of its goals. So, raise your hand if you know what a Trex deck is. Okay, Trex makes its decks and its furniture out of plastic, recycled plastic. So they created a little challenge so that people could recycle plastic and send it to them, and if you could get to 500 pounds, you could get a Trex bench. So our Rotary Club decided to take the challenge. So what we're talking about here is plastic film. So you know those things that you get from Amazon, produce bags. Now, all this weighs grams. And when we started this, we thought it's going to take us forever to get to the 500 pounds. So Trex sent us, is this your phone? Oh. Trex sent us a little piece of plastic. It was a cardboard. And we put it together as a little bin. We put a bag in it. We put info on it. And we went to various locations, and Robin will go over some of those locations later. And we asked them if they would be willing for us to put our bin in their location. And this bin happens to come from Briar Patch, and you could imagine Briar Patch would be super into it. So we started our collection in October of 2021. We have collected over 4,000 pounds of plastic. And 1,182 pounds of it came from Briar Patch alone. So it was one of these kind of things that I used to go, I'm the Briar Patch monitor, and I would like sneak my own stuff in there, just so we had enough. But every other day, our bin is full. So Robin's gonna talk about her, her storehouse.
So this bag comes from one of our collection points, AJA Video. We actually have 10 different sites around town, including Briar Patch, both of the Wolf Creek and the Nevada City Co-housing, the Habitat Restore, and the library, a number of locations where we actually have these bins, and you can go and you can deposit your stretchable. If it crinkles, it doesn't go in. Just take your thumb and stretch it. As you can see here, if it stretches, it can go in the bin. This bag is from AJA Video. It demonstrates the fact that we have a number of most of our businesses are using a lot of stretchable plastics. If you go to a grocery store, they're wrapping cases in plastic, and all of that can be recycled. So we are on the second 6-month phase. We're partnering with Grass Valley Rotary, who will actually get a bench in October. Our intention at the end of this second 6-month phase is to actually turn over the program to another local, hopefully a nonprofit or an entrepreneur, a young entrepreneur. We've got Gil Matthew from the Economic Resource Council is looking for someone who could possibly take it on as a business, and Trex would provide them with the compaction equipment to compact it, because what happens is we're taking these bags, and AJA gives us, we collect about 6 of these bags a week from AJA, 3 or more from Briar Patch, and so we're taking all of this to Save Mart, behind Save Mart grocery store, and they are very generously collecting these plastics and taking it to Tracy, to a distribution center in Tracy, where Trex comes and picks it up, and it then gets melted down, eliminating contamination from it. We've got restrictions on what can go, but that's what's happening, and hopefully by October we'll either have another nonprofit who can take it on as a project for their clients to earn some money, or a young entrepreneur. So thank you for your support.
I think it's absolutely brilliant that they're able to take this back. And it doesn't always, okay. We shouldn't be getting it in the first place, but at least we've got a way to deal with it, and it goes back to Trex, and that doesn't mean that it's the end of the plastic. It's not end of life. It's still going to have to end up somewhere in a landfill, but it prolongs the life until we can figure out a better solution. But anyway, it's a wonderful project, and I'm just thrilled that the International Rotary has a huge program on plastic reduction and recovery now, globally. So it's really a big deal. Jared, refill. Yay! Now, so this is this is what's coming. Recycling. Bless you for doing all that, and it's important, and we'd like to lower it because we have a 75%. We have a 75% diversion rate mandate, right? That we gotta get our trash down by 75% based on when 96. Anyway, so we gotta get our trash down. A lot of that is plastic. So recycling is important, reprocessing is important, reusing is really important, and now refill is where we're going.
Thank you for inviting me, Shirley. And I recognize a lot of our customers here, so thank you all for coming here and participating in it kind of outside of your shopping routine. Shirley was trying to reach me for weeks, and I was a little bit like, I have a lot of things going on, but as I looked at this, I was like, well, this is a challenge that I need to take to come here today. And the reason that is because Shirley asked me a very tough question. What do you guys do with your plastic? And we've had some customers ask us that. So I'll back up a little bit. If you're not familiar with our shop already, it's been there for almost 12 years. Myself and my former partner are the second owners. The store shut down in 2018 or 2019. And we used to shop there and refill our laundry, soap, and dish and that type of thing. And my partner approached me and said, hey, Mr. Entrepreneur, why don't you buy the shop and reopen it? And I laughed and I go, I just sold a clothing store and I don't have all that stress and I'm really enjoying not having to worry about that. So long story, we ended up purchasing the shop, reopening it. And what we are, Gaia Soap Supply, is a refill shop in that you can take your jugs of laundry soap that you've bought, Tide or whatever else, and bring it in, and we can refill that plastic from a large 50-gallon drum, or we have other dispensing containers. So that's really the core of what we do, is offer a refillable, eco-friendly soap, typically free of almost always free of many of the yucky chemicals that you'll find in conventional products. Along with a lot of other things that you put on your body, but I won't go into all that. When Shirley asked us to come here and talk about our refill business and the refill revolution, there's just a couple of stats that I'll share with you. We've been tallying it. It's a little tricky to measure, but what we've come up with from counting all the beans is we're roughly recycling about 8,000 to 10,000 bottles a year, refilling. So that's based on all of you who already shop there and you're bringing in your bottles. We have a way to calculate relatively accurately. That's about how many we're refilling. So they're not going to waste management, WM, and they're not going in the trash. So we feel really good about this. But then Shirley asked me, well, what do we do with our plastic? So we get 5-gallon jugs, we get buckets, we get 50-gallon containers. And for a long time, we used to be able to, the community would receive them. We would put a note on Facebook that we had 50 buckets, and everyone would come and take the buckets because they want to use them for their garden or other things. So when Shirley asked this question, what do we do with it? I realized that we're starting to run a bit of a surplus of our containers. So it sent me down late night rabbit holes, finding out about completely package-free or non-plastic packaging that we can buy and provide to the community. Because people ask us, about the laundry sheets. Personally, I hate those little things because it's just like, But as I started to go to learn about them, that became the big question, right? Do you sell the laundry sheets? So the answer is about to be yes. As a result of this event and the invitation from Shirley, I have spent a lot of time researching this. And I know we're all trying to go home and eat dinner, so I'm going to go through a few quick examples of what we found and what's coming. I have been in touch with and worked with a manufacturer. I'll follow my slide. Concentrates. So this is just right now, this is a laundry alternative. It's not an alternative, it's a laundry soap that is about 50%, you need 50% less than your traditional, those big lids. This is about a half an ounce per load of laundry, which when you put it in a little shot glass, it's like a tiny amount. The company sends them in 70% recycled cardboard content, and there are plastic bladders inside of them. However, we can ship them back. They will inflate, rinse, and reuse them multiple times before they start to degrade. And they have what they call a closed loop packaging program, and this is coming. This is in the shop now in small quantities because we're testing it. And obviously very earth friendly in terms of what's in it. But in terms of, we're talking about plastic, this is one thing coming. This one's called Root and Splendor. We're going to be getting it in 4.7 liter, which is the equivalent of, I believe, almost 5 gallons. They will reimburse us, from what I understand. I talked to the founder last week. They've also been packaging stain removers in a paper cardboard type of dispenser. There is also a plastic bladder in here, but it's made of a recycling material. But the point being, there's still some plastic, but a majority of it is paper. So we're not striving for perfection here, but don't let perfection impede progress is a lot of what that saying is. So some good steps forward here. And then this is one of my favorites. I'm going to take it home and test it tonight. I found a manufacturer who makes a completely package-free laundry soap, and it comes in a little bar, and you break it into pieces and drop it into a jug, put water in it, and it'll dissolve. It took about an hour, and this is completely package-free. I mean, other than this wax that's on it, but there's no cardboard, no plastic, no nothing. You take the container you already have, and it's a concentrate. This gallon jug will do 200 loads of laundry from this package-free bar of dissolvable laundry soap. So we as the person in the community doing refills are now, as a result of this group and this organization, really looking for beyond refills, beyond recycling. How do we not have this stuff in the first place? I'm doing my best, but this is kind of what we've been up to and what we're about over there. And we invite you to visit us, not just to do business with us, but to incorporate reducing or eliminating a lot of plastic from your consumption. And I'm happy to take questions. Yeah.
Where are you? That's exciting.
We are, you know where the Onyx Theater is? We're right across the street. There's a big, our sign looks like that logo. It just says soap up there. Kind of in between Minor Moe's and the video store.
And that little, behind
Kind of behind
SPD.
SPD, yeah.
Yeah, behind SPD kind of.
And I just want to add.
Yes, please.
I bought metal containers at your store for my shampoo and my cream rinse, so.
Right.
Thank you, and I see so many people I recognize, so we love that. Thank you so much, and we'll see you there soon.
Yeah. See, this is where we're going. We got to. The whole package-free thing is where we're headed for, and we want to reduce the packaging that we have, and that's why that take back packaging thing is important, because it's like, okay, they can do it. The manufacturers that are providing Safeway and on, they can do it. We just have to say, back it up, back it up, back it up. Talk to your manufacturers, just like Briar Patch is. So that's our job, and that's what Plastic Free July is about.
I'm going to accept one last question.
Okay, all right,
She
good.
started there.
Okay.
Is the package free, so is that more cost effective as well?
Great question. I can pass this around too for anybody it's kind of like a really rigid pace. Right now, we have a test group from our customer base that's going to test all this in real life. And one of the things that I put into the instructions is sort of cost. Do you make a decision? Is it cost? Is it the packaging? What is it? And it turns out that it is the most cost effective. This is only one manufacturer that I've found that will do that paste that you can dissolve. But it is the most cost effective because it's a concentrate. So again, 200 loads of laundry out of this.
Is the wax compostable?
I assume so, but I would be happy to research that piece of it a bit more for you. Yeah.
I feel like that's
Yeah.
kind of an important part too. That way it's just like totally not
Yeah, closed
not
loop, yeah.
landfill at all, because there's some wax product out there that's going to go straight to landfill.
Very true.
Product from the other one?
What's that?
Is it a different product from it? Is it different?
No, this is the after. That's how we receive it. And then when you put it in a jug, this is what it turns into from that bar that's going around.
Great.
Oh, it was just a personal thing. When they came out, I tried some of them and they didn't dissolve, and I'd have all this crusty stuff all over my stuff, and I'm like, forget it, I'm not using this. But I know the technology's improved. This was 3 or 4 years ago I tried them, and now there's so many options compared to what there was. It was a personal but now I'm like, okay, it's come a long ways, yeah. So, and we have 3 varieties of those showing up any day. I was hoping to have them. That we're going to do some real on the street testing to make sure that they dissolve properly and don't, so.
Clean your clothes.
Exactly.
That's the whole
So,
point of buying these things.
exactly. So thank you all for your time here, and thank you, Shirley, for the challenge. To challenge me to think beyond the refill bottle. So,
Right,
yeah.
right. I think
Thank you.
beyond the recycling, we still will always have a recycling bin, but, we can make it less and less, over time. And, because refill is really what it's at, So I have one more kind of surprise guest for just a few minutes, because talking about beyond, where are we going beyond what even this is? Glow, you want to pop up here? I just met Glow. She came to me through Upstream. Upstream or Beyond Plastic? I forget. And Charlie, you're sneaking away. I was going to tell people, if you wanted a little CD, you can buy a CD from Charlie before he slips away.
$10, and the money goes to the organization.
All right. Thank you, Charlie. We'll talk.
This mic works, 'cause but I think everyone can hear us anyways, right?
That's what?
I don't think this mic works.
It's not a room mic.
Okay.
It's for the recording.
Oh, okay. That
Yeah.
makes sense. Cool. Awesome.
But anyway, she's going to tell you a little bit about what she's doing, the filming, and it's like a community effort. So why don't you tell us?
It's really bright over there in front of the,
Yeah, it
the
is.
screen. But yeah.
Well, for you, we'll move it back over here. There we go.
Thank you. Yeah, so everyone, my name is Glow. It's really great to be here. I'm really excited to be here because, this is really the mission, is to protect water and regenerate the planet. And it's so amazing that all these efforts are coming together really with the Plastic Free July and Briar Patch. And ever since I was in Mexico, I just really woke up to the problem with plastic, being on the most pristine beaches and loving the ocean and being so connected to nature and just seeing all the plastic go into the ocean. So when I found myself in the landfill and learned about how much waste was being generated and how much was going to the landfill in Cancun, I decided to make a change in my own life. So I started reducing my own plastic and started doing cleanups with my students, but I wanted to make a bigger change. So I decided that I wanted to make a documentary. And so over the past year, I've been filming lots of eco-entrepreneurs, mostly in the Los Angeles area. Probably have done about 15 interviews with business owners that are providing solutions similar to Gaia. Most of them are zero waste shop owners. And also interviewing policymakers and change makers is one of my next steps. I really want to show, what's happening now. There's been a lot of change in LA, which is great. Like she was talking about the utensils, and so we have the Skip the Stuff campaign where the restaurants don't give out the utensils, but people have to ask first on the apps and stuff. So that's really great to have that, that cutoff. And then there's other policies going through, the first one to go through in Culver City was basically they're all required, all the restaurants are required to use dine-in-ware now. So post-COVID, everyone was using disposables, but now they have a policy coming out in 2023 that in Culver City, all restaurants are now required to use dine-in-ware, and then also they extended that to all of LA County, which is super amazing. So I'd love to see that happen here in Nevada City. And then as well, there are so many amazing solutions like Dispatch Goods, which is a reusable container takeout program in San Francisco. And what I love about them is that they're working B2B, so it takes the pressure off the individual. So the way it works is that they package their food in a reusable stainless steel container. They send it to your house, you enjoy your meal, and then they pick it up from your house. They take it to their sanitization center and they clean it and then give it back to the restaurant. And it's really amazing because they just have a rental fee for the actual restaurant, so the individual doesn't have to pay. Because it's great, I know Ashland, Oregon has their to-go-ware, and a lot of these other smaller towns are having reusable systems for food in their co-ops and stuff like that. But what I love is taking it off the individual, not having to pay to be reusable or to make the better choice of being eco-friendly and reducing their waste. So I'd love to see programs like that happen here, and I'd love to see how we can like find grants to support programs like that. It would be great to see a reusable container program in Nevada City, and as well looking at like the health codes and looking at that, because it's been a big challenge for restaurants to reduce their waste, because the health codes say like it's not okay to use reusables, or they can't accept that. So I want to learn more about what's going on in Nevada City in terms of the health code, so that we can move past that, because we did have a reusable, reopen with reuse petition in Los Angeles area, where we were helping support restaurants reopen with reuse, because we had a petition with like 160 health professionals signed to say that reusables are safe and they're okay to use. So I'd love to see, what we can do here on a smaller scale in Nevada City to first like adopt reusables for the restaurants, and then make it okay for people to bring their own reusables. So yeah, and I'm excited to like work with you guys and see how we can collaborate together to really like make a change, because I feel like we can be empowered as citizens to make a change as a grassroots movement. The biggest challenge I feel right now is the price cost of a refill product at a natural store like yours, is because the oil industry is subsidizing plastic products. They spend millions of dollars a year subsidizing plastic. Like, it's insane, and it's just not okay, because the actual true cost of plastic's not what it is. It's cheaper to produce virgin plastic than it is to use recycled plastic, because the oil industry is turning to plastic to make money, and it's not okay. And we have to stop these subsidies, and we have to figure out a way to support small businesses and create eco-friendly subsidies for small businesses, because the average person cannot afford to buy these products, or let alone even think of that. If someone can't even get their food stamps, how are they going to like choose to buy this eco-friendly product? So I really want to see like larger systems put in place, so that we can make our way to these reusable systems. Yeah. So thank you for listening.
Well, for sure we're going to be hearing more from her, because she knows a lot more than I do, and I'm going to learn from her. We're going to go forward on that, because I think it's really important. We got to get these bigger laws. I'm watching too how much they're making these. I hate to call them bans, and so what I'm doing, instead of making a ban, is I'm going to the chambers, and I'm working with the businesses in the chambers of commerce to say, here's some suggestions. So I have this little piece of paper you can pick up. And I say, here's some alternatives. You don't have to buy the stuff that's not recyclable. There are other things to buy, and I give them that. So that's something you can do, is to say there are other things to buy, and if you want that piece of paper, there's a little piece of paper out there, and it gives you the links, which is a little cumbersome, but I'm going to be doing it better than that. But there are things that we can do, and this is one of them, to say no. Take my own little thing. Trying to remember it, to take it out of the car and into the restaurant is a whole other thing.
And the bill today going through, the SB 54, there's a bill for like...
Did it go through?
Well, I'm hoping.
Oh,
but
yeah.
We just shared it today, and it's basically it'll put like $300 million into restoring the watersheds and things like that, and putting like basically the plastic polluters are having to pay and stuff like that. And it's really incredible. So I hope it can get passed, but it's to create an act for plastic pollution.
Right.
Yeah.
Well,
so that's happening right now.
as you can see, we've got a next step. Barb, you had a quick question?
I wanted to ask, what's your vision of reusables? Are you bringing your own plates to restaurants? Or I don't know what your vision is.
Well, you don't have to bring your own place to restaurant. First of all, yes, at like a small step, I'd like to see, like a system and an app, whatever it may be, to know where you can bring your own container to get your food. But what Dispatched Goods does is that you don't even need to. They'll give you your food in your container. Like, they'll have the reusable container at the restaurant. You could take it home, and then the system will then pick it up from your house and then sanitize it, and then put it back to the restaurant. So then you won't have to be responsible for taking it back. But then the takeout would be in the reusable container.
Yeah, this is the next step that's just happening in a few places, and we'll get there here. We'll get there here.
Yeah.
We just need a few forward-thinking people in order to be able to do it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for letting me share.
We're about to close. Thank you so much. Yeah, it's great. Yeah, good. And see, we have a bunch of young people here. Are the Sunrisers still here? Arya is here, and well, Tess works with with Glow, and so we want to work more with the Sunrise people because they're doing stuff. They got something happening. So you'll hear more about that too as we go along. So I just want to thank you, and there are a bunch of things out there you want to pick up and look at, and one of them is for you to say plastic-free life tips. This is really interesting about the things you can notice and do and not do. This is a very interesting little list. And then there's some of these other things that are coming up. The story of plastic documentaries and all this stuff is out there, and you can look at it. And thank you so much for coming, and we're going to dance you out. Let's put that on and dance you out. And thank you to our speakers. Thank you so much.